What's up, collective? This is Neo Ra coming with a new channeled message for the collective. Um, this one is interesting because I'm getting people want some kind of confirmation about, you want to know about aliens. So I got my alien deck out here and I'm going to get some channel messages for your confirmation, for your own intuition being confirmed about aliens and life on a planet that is struggling to understand the truth. And there's so much misinformation out there that it is time for the truth. And we can't keep waiting. Eight of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune. We can't keep waiting in this state of confusion and being kept in the dark with the truth being literally all around us and access to it. This person has got a band around them and a blindfold. So it's like bound up. You can't touch the truth even though it's right next to you. You can't see it, right? So how do we access it so we can move forward out of this state of confusion and feeling trapped, even though there's nothing holding this person in this position because their feet are not bound, they can walk away. But knowing the truth is all around us, right? How do we access it to our highest timeline is what this reading is, what I'm getting that you want to know if you clicked on this video. I can tell you personally, 200 on the timer. I could tell you personally from my own experience as a psychic, a seer, a remote viewer, with clairaudience, where I can hear and talk to spirit and beings in the astral, and I can see them. I can tell you that there are aliens. There's a lot of evidence, and I think most people know that. People aren't stupid. I don't think you are. But if you clicked on this video, you want some more confirmation. And I don't have any to show you, any aliens hanging out physically with me. Although I have had contact in my life, and woken up with them around me, um, at different times. So, but this is about now, and this is about using this tool of divination, speaking directly to Source, the Most High, and pulling cards to confirm, and also channeling messages that will help you move forward with the truth. And I just saw this movie Moonfall, and I've projected myself to the moon. Okay, and the moon in that movie was not natural. Okay, and that part is true. It's not natural. You know, we had the early moon, um, NASA, which a lot of people, see that it could have easily been something made in a studio, which I think both are true. I think we did physically go there, and I think we did physically see something that was created in a studio to protect us. Was the narrative. That was the justification, is we're going to protect you. Got my deck upside down. We're going to protect you. And I think that's also another message. They got us all upside down with the truth. When I've spoken to beings on the moon, when I went there, I actually had a video that was posted of a whole session that I did, where I was um, viewing the moon and what I saw there. And I saw beings. I saw a lot of structures on the backside and on the south pole of the moon. A lot of different countries of the moon. This is what just popped out. So yeah, I wasn't physically here, but I left my body and went to look and see during a session. And there were other people involved in that session. It was a group um, experience, but I'm just going to talk about my own experience. So, and we have the dog and the wolf howling at the moon. So the moon is a satellite, right? A lot like we were shown in Star Wars with the Death Star. But in the movie Moonfall, I just watched yesterday, they go there because the moon is falling out of orbit and about to crash and end life on Earth, right? And the moon wasn't always there, but we've learned throughout our history on the planet to adapt to this unnatural satellite that's put in a specific place. Uh, it doesn't rotate like all the other objects in space are spinning. We only see one side of it. A lot of that's because if we saw the other side of it, she's looking up, trying to map the stars and looking at this craft. If we saw the other side of it, we would be able to, with a telescope, see that it's not empty. But unlike in the movie, which I thought was a good movie, Moonfall, you may want to watch it. Unlike in that movie, my experience was it wasn't uninhabited or controlled just by an AI experience. It was full of life and full of a lot of life, more like a spaceport is what I saw. Nine of Cups, wish fulfillment. So if you wanted some confirmation, that's what this reading is for. It's for understanding what the moon is and how the role that the moon plays in keeping us in a sleep state, right? Because cut the deck on Temperance. So the moon is creating it's one of the controls of the planet. Basically, it keeps us in a certain time. It slows the earth. It controls the tides. And it's also used to influence us mentally with the frequencies that it puts out. As far as who's on it, who I saw on it was the beings that we are typically associate with grays, and they have other names. And that's who I've also seen in my room as an adult when I was sleeping. One time I woke up with sleep paralysis. I couldn't move, but I was woken up by a finger tapping me on my head while I was sleeping. And I could see without even opening my eyes, I could see that from the side of my bed up by my head was a gray, and his hand came up and was tapping me awake, and it put me into a state of paralysis where I knew what was happening and I could see the hand without even opening my eyes, and I was just frozen in shock. And I used my I was frozen. Ten of Swords. I was frozen in shock. Now, was I being returned? I don't know. I probably was being returned to my bed, and he was waking me up, or he was just checking in on me. And I don't remember that part, but I remember waking up and being frozen, and it taking all of my emotions to break that state of panic, basically. And I yelled and I said, if you touch me with that hand again, I'm going to break it off pretty much. And then he left. But what I heard when he was leaving Three of Wands was, and you see this craft in the background taking off. And here's me trying to move. I was moving at that point. But what I heard was, when you finish taking a shower and you get out, but then after the water's done moving and clearing, sometimes the air pressure or a bubble will release and there'll be a little bit of water left in the shower head and it'll come down almost like rain hitting the plastic, and it'll be a short and that's the sound that I heard a minute after he woke me up and I snapped out of it. I'm saying he, I don't know his gender. But then I got up to go in the bathroom and see, because that's where it sounded like it came from, next to the bed. And I went and looked and I didn't see any water come out of the shower, but I definitely heard that sound come out of that space, that direction. So I put two and two together that he was going through some kind of a portal. Three of this. Going back to his group or wherever he came from. At this point, I was actually physically in Arizona, just south of Phoenix. Yeah. So I wonder if I can tap into the one who I talked to when I was at the moon, visiting the moon. And he was kind of giving me a tour, not because he wanted to, but because I wouldn't leave him alone. Also, when I got up there, I kept hearing warnings like, don't be here, you don't want to be here, almost threatening me for being up there. Yeah, because I was up there and they were trying to get me out of there. I guess they didn't want me there, and I didn't really care at the time. I just wanted to see what was up there because I was done. I think also the point of this reading is to let people know that don't expect a disclosure. The movie just came out this year about disclosure, and it focused on grays, which is only kind of the worker bees of who's on Earth and who's in space. The drones, they don't really have emotions. And in disclosure, what was more important, and a lot of people, if you saw it, I don't know if you caught this, but what was more important that they glossed over was the spiritual awakening of the two main characters that came together. That to me, those were soul mates. They were connected in so much as they were communicating telepathically, which is abilities that we're waking up to. And we do have a soul tribe and also soul mates on the planet. And the distraction is keeping us on the point of, are they real? Yeah, they are, but they're not the point to give all our energy and focus to. Being aware of them and what their agenda is useful, but it's not going to get you off the planet, and they're not going to come take you somewhere else where, Earth is not the only planet with life or humans, but it's one of the ones that's heavily monitored, and the information is very lacking. Nine of this, right? We're not given abundant information about the truth. We have to figure it out for ourselves. So this, for me, this reading is also confirmation that letting people know, if one of the reasons too, and this may be another reason for this message. One of the reasons to develop your abilities, psychic ability, is to no longer, and this is where the planet is going, to no longer be dependent, codependent on somebody else telling you the truth. And this isn't just about aliens. This is about taking responsibility for your own knowledge, right? Because regardless of when they actually divulge all of the information, which may or may not ever happen, I wouldn't hold your breath, because they don't have any reason to shed light on that. Okay? But I'm here to tell you that you can find out not just that, but anything. Uh, your past lives. You don't have to go to a reader. You don't have to watch readings. You can pick up a deck of tarot cards, learn what they mean, and learn how to tap into your own intuition. Seven of Swords and the Seven of Wands, so that you are not sheep or cattle, right? And here's the truth, and the truth is being sucked up here, right? Learning how to stand your ground, the Seven of Wands, right? She's got the wand in her hand, right? She's a badass. She's not one of these cattle, right? Because they would have us believe that everything's fine, just go back to sleep. A lot of people who are awake to that we're not alone feel like it's a prison planet and that people are just food, like these damn cows over here. And these higher evolved beings, which this is not a vessel of a higher evolved being, by the way. Um, the higher evolved being, this is just tech that we don't have access to in the public. The higher evolved beings would have you believe, go back to sleep, so they can feed off of us energetically from the moon and from all over by having major events like the World Cup or the Super Bowl or anything that has us go and be emotionally charged and not know the hidden agenda of that's an energy harvesting event, right? Which are created all over. Even wars on the planet are orchestrated. Those are orchestrated to physically harvest, but to orchestrate energetically harvesting that which we don't have access to the truth when we don't know it. And so 17, 18, 18 on the timer. 18 is the moon. Okay. So this message is timely regardless. And this isn't an alarming message or fear mongering. This is a wake up call to realize that no, we're not alone on the planet or in the universe. The earth was not originally even humans that were populated on the earth. There was, uh, I think the argument is that there was reptiles here before us. And I think that is the reptile part of our brain that we've been modified to be easily controlled by the frequencies put out here. They're being controlled by it. And the truth be hidden, because that's how it's always been. And that's how you treat a planet that has livestock on it, right? But also, what happens every time a major enough people wake up and take responsibility is there seems to be some kind of a global apocalyptic event where, and they've run all these scenarios on us, and this isn't the first time, alien invasion, natural disaster, you got Noah and the flood. So I don't think this is a new cycle. I think this is what happens when enough people wake up, is there's an orchestrated event that looks like something from the Bible, that we can't control. But just like in Moonfall, I think that was preparation for another orchestrated event. And what happens and why, what I was shown is why it's necessary to orchestrate events is because when enough people wake up to their abilities and realize that the future is not written, it's agreed upon, and people's actions and beliefs create the future because we are the creators. That's where we come from. That soul spark is your birthright to manifest, right? And we have all these books and seminars and religions about how to manifest. But the truth is, when you fully step into your power to manifest and realize no truths can be hidden, right? And remember your past lives and fully integrate all of your self past the memory wipe of being incarnated each time. When you fully integrate and there's enough people fully awake that the the choice of the direction of evolution falls on the people. When people are left to wait to be told what to do like children, they're giving up their vote to somebody else to choose if they're going to tell you the truth and what's going to happen next. And we watch the news to tell us what's happening right now so we can know what to expect. And we watch movies that use a lot of magic to tell us what's real and what's not, and how to think and how to feel, and what's going to happen if this scenario happens and what's going to happen if that scenario happens. 22:14 on the timer. So my intention is to empower people to develop your own intuition, to learn how to trust it, and to stop looking for this, to stop looking outside of ourselves and to come together as awakened beings and to consciously choose how we want to evolve past all of the matrix divisions that were given to us, that were handed down from generation to generation, from race, gender, countries, languages, right? All of these things to divide us, politics, all of these words that are just magic spells to make us think we're not connected to each other. In the collective, if the message doesn't resonate for you, another way to listen to a reading is by taking responsibility for, if this is affecting somebody in the collective, this reading is valid for somebody, let me listen to it with an empowering point of view and try to alchemize that energy, not because it's my job, but because if it's affecting one person on the planet, it's affecting me too. Maybe I'm not directly noticing how it's going to affect me right now, but me, if I'm going to watch a reading, that it's not necessarily feeling like it's directly about me. Another way to listen to it is, let me listen to this in an empowering way, looking for the highest truth, right, from a solution standpoint, and using my focus and my energy and my wisdom to listen actively for what is the outcome for the highest truth and for everyone's best interest. And if we start interacting with all information like this, then we won't need to have conflict, because conflict is manufactured illusion. We're all connected. If one person is having an issue, we're all having an issue. It's in the collective, right? So how can we alchemize those frequencies so we can all be on the highest timeline? That's the 3D and 5D shift, just going from a physical reality to taking responsibility for 5D. A lot of people resonate with that. That's love. We can go to a whole reality where we love ourselves enough to take responsibility for the energy that we're aware of, regardless if we think it's about us or not. If somebody brings something to us, like if you came to this video, right? And back in the day, I used to say it takes a village to raise a child. Like everybody's related. I used to say this as a kid. We're all related, right? Which to me now means taking responsibility for myself means intending and looking for the best interest of everyone, including myself. And that's not easy when not everybody's doing that. But what I'm suggesting from this message that's taken a turn from worrying about, I feel like that's smoke and mirrors. Are there aliens? Yeah. Sharks, are dinosaurs. They said dinosaurs are extinct. Sharks are millions of years old. So clearly there's a lot of misinformation going around. Are there other beings from other planets? Of course. The universe is massive. So we already know that that's another misnomer, right? When we step into our divine, um, embodying the divine and taking responsibility, we get a lot of our abilities come in. So we know, like we've known in many lifetimes, um, how to move on the planet as a wise person and not as a childish, blaming victim, right? Because that's where we started. We started with this almost like it's a victim born into being a victim, right? And a lot of generational curses, if we're working on ourselves, spiritually evolving, we know this is not someplace we need to stay. Consciously choosing something else is the first step to having a whole reality shift and accessing our own truth and sharing that, right? I can't show you a picture of a gray, but I can tell you that I'm pretty confident that knowing that they exist, I don't need to worry about them either. They're going to do what they're going to do, just like mosquitoes are going to do what they're going to do, right? So you don't want to get bit by a mosquito. Don't go outside without repellent or a short sleeve shirt. How do you avoid uh, worrying about things that you don't have control over? Don't worry about it. Is it happening? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening that we don't have control over. But we need to focus on what we do have control over, which is ourselves, what we choose to focus on, and what we know and believe to be true. And if we know we've been sold a lot of things that aren't true, it's our responsibility to look for the truth. And I'm not suggesting by watching TV. I'm suggesting by going in and learning how to meditate and learning how to communicate with your higher self and spirit and learning how to listen to when we ask. A lot of people are used to, let me pray to God. Okay, you're asking for something. What if you just ask for the truth and you listen and you trust that what you're hearing is valid? And when you learn, even through this form of divination, divination is just communicating with spirit. And it doesn't have to be a deck of cards. It can be nature. It can be, there's throughout history, hundreds of forms of divination where we learn how to take information that is true in spirit and mind and emotion the truth and see it in the 3D with our eyes. Um, and pairing that together with building confidence around that the spirit realm is real, regardless of how many things have been taken out of the religious texts and altered. Um, Regardless of that, learning to be your own advocate, just like going to the doctor. You have to advocate for yourself in the spirit realm as well. You can't go to somebody else, even readers, and expect that to be your last resort. I'm suggesting this is just a stepping stone and taking this as an opportunity to learn how to communicate with beings. We don't need phones. That's a handicap. A phone is technology. You can communicate with beings anywhere in the universe. Can you do it right this second? It might take you time to practice and learn how to unlock those abilities and taking responsibility for mastering your physical vessel. 31:18 on the timer. Mastering your physical vessel so that you can have access to more abilities and your higher senses, right? Decalcifying your pineal gland, meditating regularly, being responsible for what is in your subconscious because you're choosing to not scroll through nonsense that doesn't actually give you any insight other than somebody else's opinion, somebody else's truth. I'm saying you can have your own truth. You can be your own, preacher. We people go to church. We people go to church because they assume the person that's giving them the word, the message, is communicating with the Most High Spirit, God, right? I'm suggesting you don't have to go to a middleman to find out something that you have access to. That's your birthright. That's the game that's no longer necessary to play. Um, yeah, so that's my truth. Um, do we even care what's on the moon? Some people don't care. After having seen it for myself with my third eye and having a conversation with somebody up there, do I care? I care that it wasn't always there. I believe that the moon wasn't always there, and that even the Ethiopian Bible in the book of Enoch talks about there'll be a time when the moon is no longer there, but we need to be ready for the shift that comes when that happens, if that's in this lifetime, um, to be on a planet that's no longer needing to be monitored and regulated by anybody but us means everybody's going to be awake and being responsible for themselves and not needing babysitters who don't even care what happens to you. Me personally, I'm not interested in that reality. Night of this, right? Being like, what was that movie, The Avatar? That's what this reminds me of. The blue people, like they didn't need all of the stuff that we have, that we think we're so codependent on all these systems. They were in tune with nature, and nature and the planet took care of them, and they took care of the planet, and they respected all the life on the planet, and they didn't think they were better than anybody or better than the animals or above the laws of nature. We have all these man-made laws, and we think, we don't care about nature. Nature is whatever. It's out of our control. Sure, but when you're in tune with nature, you don't need to control anything. We need to learn how to control ourselves, and not from a forceful manipulative control, but from a alignment and making wise choices to be healthy and live our best lives control, and not be tempted to do things that are available that don't serve us in any good long-term way. 3514. So that's me, the King of Cups and Temperance. So being a masculine who's emotionally intelligent and balanced, walking on my path, I have access to my abilities. I'm not seeking anybody else's validation. I'm not looking for the truth. I've already seen everything from my own, and anything else I want to know, I can find it out, and not by watching TV or waiting for somebody to tell me the truth. You don't have to tell me shit. I'm going to find out exactly what I need to know to make my life better. I don't care how many people get in my way or lie or talk shit behind my back. I don't give a shit. That's their karma. You feel me? I just care about what I have control over, which is what comes out of my mouth, which is speaking my truth and telling you how I got to where I'm at. And it took me a whole long decades to get to this point and get people out of my way who smiled in my face and stabbed me in my back and drained me of my energy and confused the shit out of me by sending me a bunch of spell work, um, smear campaigns, making me doubt myself, making me not even want to be here anymore, depression, right? I don't have any of those blockages when I take responsibility for myself and don't give a shit about what other people say, do, or think. Because I can't control that. I can just tell you how to have an awesome life, and it doesn't involve any of that shit. Because if those people would take as much time as they spent trying to stop me from ascending and worked on themselves, they would be where I'm at, potentially, or wherever they're supposed to be, not trying to copy me, right? Or trying to X me out, or trying to have me not be here anymore so I don't have to listen to me. You don't want to listen to me? Don't listen. That's your right, right? But only thing I'm saying is to help people get what's available in life when you realize that this is just a control mechanism to slow down time and to get you to fall into place. Okay? That's my truth. Are there aliens? Yeah, who cares? All over the whole, and there's humans everywhere too, not just on Earth. This is not the first place humans are from. We're not from Earth. We just have been here for thousands of years. And and I've incarnated here and many other places many times. And so have you all. So because our soul is immortal, right? They would have you, who cares what they would have you think? Go find out for yourself. Meditate and go within, because all the answers you seek are available inside of you. And I'm just reminded too, um, this old movie from the 80s, The Last Dragon, where Leroy is with this master trying to master energy and the martial arts and life, and his final lesson was to stop looking outside of himself for the truth. There's nothing out here that matters. That's what you realize when you master yourself, is what you take responsibility for and master and learn about yourself. The outside world will line up and reflect that back at you. At that point, it doesn't matter what you thought was out here or looking for stuff out here. You'll be shown exactly what you need to move forward, because now you're on your path. And all that other shit is just not being on your path, right? When you choose to get on your path, the Two of Wands, and align with the actual sun, which gives life to everything on the planet, and know where the sun is, that's what time it is. Get an app that shows you where the sun is and what planets are around it and what constellations it's in. And stop worrying about this satellite that's out there watching and doing all the stuff it's doing with all the beings that are doing it. They can have their own karma, and don't worry about them. Worry about you. They would like you to worry about them and wonder what if they're there and what they're doing and how does it affect you. Find out for yourself. I saw what I saw. They can kiss my ass. I don't care. They're not helping me do shit, so why am I going to focus on them is the point. Right? Until they show up and they're like, hey, let me help you. You know, if I feel like that's a valid use of my time and energy and trust that, which why would I? You know, it's all pointless. I can't control them and they can't control me. Next, right? Now I can move forward and not be stuck with them having you wanting to wonder all the time what they're doing. I don't give a shit what they're doing. I don't give a shit. That's what I think is valuable. Not giving a shit. Right? Because what happens when you stop caring about what somebody else is doing and start focusing on what's going to make your life better? You take your power back and you're not in fear about shit you don't have control over anyway. Being in fear is a trap. Being in fear of death is another trap, right? That's not even up to you. So sitting around worrying about shit you can't control is not only is it a waste of time, it depletes your energy that's required to manifest what would be in your best interest. 41:37 on the timer. So that's what's valuable about are there aliens? It doesn't matter. You're an alien. If you go to another planet, your alien is just foreign. You're not from there, so now you're an alien. So what? I think if we had access to doing that, the point would be what do I have of value to offer? Because I spent time working on myself that would add value to them. And what do I feel that they would have that would add value to me? And an even exchange of energy and ideas and wisdom and knowledge and technology is the only thing that matters. And until we have access to leave, don't worry about it. And until they want to show up and take their masks off and quit hiding like little bitches, don't worry about that either. I'm reminded of the movie V, you know, from the 80s. It wasn't a movie. It was an old TV series from the 80s where a bunch of aliens showed up in ships looking like humans and trying to act like they were here to help somebody with new technology to offer. And come to find out that they weren't even human, that they had a mask on, and that underneath the mask they were reptiles. Is that probably something closer to the truth? Probably. Probably walking around with masks on right now. Right? And we have a reptile part of our brain, right? That fight or flight. I don't know what it's responsible for. But so what? You know, we're part this, we're part that. Our human DNA has been so manipulated in these bodies, in these different bloodlines throughout time, been so manipulated and dumbed down to be livestock, basically. But you know, that's a choice. Once you realize, oh, that's the game, and choose not to play it and just choose to work on yourself and go within, uh, then they have to do something different, right? You can only be a slave if you choose to stay in this state. This is a choice, and they got people thinking they don't have an option. I don't live like that. 4400 on the timer. So I think going back to our other timelines, I don't think me tapping into who I talked to on the moon is even useful. He was full of half truths. He didn't want to take any responsibility for what they do. He he was just stupid, basically. Who I saw and talked to was kind of stupid. Inner strength. This is more valuable. What I took away from that was not worrying about if it's inhabited anymore and focusing on myself and building up my abilities and taking back my power and, you know, focusing on people who want to wake up and sharing the information and wisdom and knowledge that I have so we can evolve and be conscious 22, right? Because this is who we are spiritually, regardless of what vessel we have to do what we came here to do. And that's the other part, is walking on your path, is figuring out what your role is on the planet in this lifetime, besides eating and sleeping and making more people, right? There's more to being here than just making it through to the end, right? Just going around the board, okay, I'm done. That's pretty much sleeping to me. And most people who do that are just afraid of dying and aren't even living fully the whole time anyway. So it's almost a wasted life, which my understanding of life is it's very valuable and it's not easy to come here and incarnate. So to come here and waste it, being worried about things that are out of our control and not stepping into our full power, is going through a whole grade of school and not learning shit. And guess what? You will have to repeat that grade. So spiritual ascension is more important than who the players are on the board in this lifetime. And this isn't our only lifetime. So to sit around and worry about what you don't know, if it doesn't have to do with you and your ascension, doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, not in my opinion, and not from my experience. So is there anything else Spirit wants me to communicate? I feel like our ancestors have a lot more wisdom and knowledge to offer than the TV or the news or the phone or people who aren't spiritually aware or working on themselves. So, spending more time working on your own spiritual ascension is going to have your whole life shift in ways the TV will is built to not have you do. Keep focusing on programming and not waking up is basically get ready to repeat the lessons that you came here to learn in the next life because you didn't learn shit. So, and this isn't a a beat down for sleeping through life. It's designed to be easy to stay asleep. So I don't fault people for not waking up. But right now, with as many people as are awake, it's almost harder to stay asleep at this point. So to make it easier, I'm giving people the cliff notes from my lifetime of working on myself and being distracted with things that don't actually help me ascend, like sex, drugs, uh, any addictions, any negative emotions, and not learning how to shift those and what's causing them, anything to lower my frequency, anything that's going to have me dissociate or not be present to my body and what I'm feeling, and choosing what I'm going to think about and focus on, because that's what's going to help me manifest the next thing in my life. And learning how to manifest effortlessly is a gift we're given. It's not anybody else's responsibility for to have our life look a certain way. And it can be fun when we learn how effortless it is when we get out of our own way from the shit we were told is real and realize it doesn't matter or it's not even real, right? If your soul is immortal, there's nothing to worry about as far as death, because you can choose to have an ego death and recreate yourself and what you identify with that aligns with you. And part of that being not being afraid of anything and taking your power back from things that were traumatizing, and learning how to heal from those things are the keys to unlocking abilities. And when the whole planet is unlocked and unafraid and responsible, we don't need all these systems, and things that we thought were real that are illusions will disappear, and we'll realize that we're on a type 2 advanced civilization planet that has access to advanced technology for healing, for living a life that, we thought was in the future on sci-fi movies. No, it's been here for a long time, but it just isn't available to everybody. So this is 50-50. I'm going to leave it on that. That's a good point. Right in the middle, right at that balanced energy. Look into 0 point energy, free energy. Look into staying balanced and on your path, and having access to the portals that are when the planets line up, give you access points to ascending spiritually. And don't worry about 3D all the time. Step out of the 3D and into your body spiritually, and embody your highest self, and go sit in nature and get downloads from the sun, and talk to your spirit guides and spirit animals and ancestors and the Most High, and be in abundance. That's what abundance is. Abundance is all around you when you don't focus on what you don't have. You don't have access to make somebody tell you the truth about this. You can't make anybody tell you the truth about this. Right? If you really want to know the answer to this, go find the answer. It's not hidden, but nobody's going to tell you. You have to figure out how to get the answer, which is being psychic, being able to astral travel. Go look. I don't suggest you actually do that. I don't think there was any value in this for me. It was annoying. I didn't like what I saw up there, and I didn't like the person who I was talking to, and I didn't like being told to leave and being threatened for being up there. I didn't like any of that shit. Right? But I did it. I don't think I would just necessarily do it again intentionally, because so what? I don't have a shit to get up there and do anything about it. But I can tell you that from my experience, it's a waste of time on purpose. It's a waste of time on purpose. That's what I can tell you. And what isn't a waste of time is spiritual ascension. They want you to worry about ET and not the Most High. That's the trap. Are both real? Yes. Can you do anything about both? No. You can't do anything about that. What can you do anything about? Connecting with the Most High and embodying your highest self. Period. 5333. Thanks for listening to this. I hope some of this was useful. That's my truth. So take what resonates with you as confirmation for what you already know, and what doesn't resonate with you, just let it go. Don't let it get annoying. Don't be annoyed. It wasn't for you. All right. Thanks for listening. This is Neo Ra. Peace.